We're going to look at multiplying and simplifying radicals. And to start with, we're going to simplify. So just to review, simplifying the radicals is using that concept of jail. So suppose I ask you to simplify the cube root of 32 x to the fourth y to the fifth. First step is I need to get the prime factors of 32. 2 goes into that 16. 2 goes into that 8. 2 goes into that 4. 2 goes into that 2. 2 goes into that 1. I am left here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 2's. I'm now going to write the cube root, what's under the radicand. I'm putting that I have 5 2's being multiplied. I have x times x times x times x, the 4 x's, and then the 5 y's. Because it's cube root, we're now having triples break out. So we're getting 1, 2, we're getting 1x, and we're getting from this triple 1y. What's left under the cube root jail is what didn't get pushed out. So we had 2 2's, which is a 4. We have an x, and we have 2 y's, which is a y squared. So simplifying, this cube root becomes 2xy times the cube root of 4xy squared. When you're simplifying, you've taken out all the triples, and what's left underneath is something that wasn't a triple, that couldn't be removed. Now we're going to look at multiplying. So to start with, we're going to, suppose I have you multiply the square root of 6xy times the square root of 24x squared y squared. So these are both in jail. You're multiplying what's under the radicals, and that gives us square root of 6 times 24 is 144. X times x squared is x cubed. Y times y squared is y cubed. In working this out, we get the factors of 144. 2 gives us 72. 2 gives us 36. 2 gives us 18. 2 gives us 9. And then continuing, 3 goes into that 3. 3 gives us 1. So I've got 4 2's and 2 3's. So I can write this as the square root of 4 2's, 2 3's, and x cubed is I have 3 x's being multiplied and y cubed 3 y's. So this is square root, so we've got pairs. Out comes a 2, another 2, a 3, an x, and a y. What's left under the radical, which isn't paired, was an x and a y. Putting this together, that tells us that 2 times 2, 4 times 3, 12. We have 12xy, radical xy. That's the result of having multiplied. So once we multiplied, we then had to do that final step of simplifying that new result. The other way I could have done this, since both of these are under the radical, I could have put under a large radical the factors of each of the radicands. So 6xy, I would put a 2, 3, and an x and a y. 24, that smaller number, I can get the prime factors, which I'll put down. I know the prime factors are 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, because it's 8 times 3. X squared would be xx, y squared yy. At that point, it's not necessarily organized with numbers and letters, but you can still calculate how many pairs you have. So if you do that, you see you have 1, 2, and another, so out comes a 2. You've got another 2, out comes a 2. You've got 1, 3 here and 1, 3 here, out comes a 3. And then you count. You've got, oh, I've got 2 x's, out comes an x. 2 y's, out comes a y. And then looking here, what you see that wasn't paired was the xy. And it would have given you the same answer. The answer becomes 12xy, because 2 times 2, 4 times 3xy, radical xy. So just another way that you could have worked that. We'll do another multiplication. So for example, suppose I have you multiply the radical expression 4x radical 10xy cubed times 3y radical 6x squared y. So with this one, outside of jail and inside jail, first we multiply what's outside, so we get 4 times 3, 12, x times y, xy, and now we're going to multiply what's under the radical. Under the radical we have 10 times 6, 60, x times x squared, x cubed, y cubed times y, y to the 4th. So now we have to simplify the 60 x cubed y to the 4th. The factors of 60, 2 goes into that 30, 2 goes into that 15. Then we go to 3, 3 goes into that 5, and 5 goes into that 1. So this is 12xy, and now with this radical, having got the prime factors, I can see a 2 will come out. Out of the x cubed, 3 x's, 1 x will come out. Out of the y to the 4th, 2 y's. And I will be left with what wasn't paired, 15, and one of the x's. Once you have that, now you can simplify what's outside of jail. 12 times 2, 24, x times x, x squared, y times y squared, y cubed, and then tagging along in jail is the radical 15x. So that would have been the multiplication and the simplification at the end.